What if reaching FIRE by age 44 was as simple as keeping your expenses low and following a repeatable, proven path? Today's guest is on track to retire early, all thanks to a strategy that prioritizes lean living and disciplined investing. The best part? It's a path that anybody can follow. In this episode, we break down how they've structured their life to maximize savings, build wealth, and stay laser focused on financial independence while keeping things simple and sustainable. If you're looking for a no-nonsense approach to achieving FIRE, this conversation is for you. Joy and Nate, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
We're excited to talk to you too.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Okay, so which one of you discovered the FIRE movement first?
That was me.
Okay, so how did you discover that, Joy?
I would say it was through BiggerPockets. I mean, I discovered BiggerPockets and I started listening to all the podcasts and heard a bunch of people and kind of followed them. And I think it, led me to like Mr. Money Mustache and the 4% rule and all this stuff. And it just made sense. I was like, wow, we're kind of already living this lifestyle to start with. So this just is an awesome plan. So I was like, I'm on board.
So Nate, what was your reaction when Joy first told you about this idea that you could retire well before age 65?
I thought it was a great idea. And to be honest, like Joy said, it's a lot of what we were doing. I think the FI movement really just put vocabulary and words to things that we were already trying to accomplish, but just helped us align goals and come up with strategy to kind of meet some of the things we were already doing, like investing heavily in retirement and trying to live on little. But it really gave us more of a step-by-step plan than we had. We were kind of walking through life. It was exciting to feel like, oh, other people are living like this, because in our community, not a lot of people are. It's more about how can we buy the next bigger house? How can we have a nicer car, as opposed to how can we really buy time back? And we felt like buying time back was what we wanted. We didn't need another square foot. We didn't need a nicer car. We wanted more time with our family and more time with each other.
Yeah, that's exactly why we started pursuing this as well. A little bit because Carl was hating his job, but mostly to get your time back. So what are your careers?
So I work for a 501c3 nonprofit. It's called Young Life. It's a Christian ministry. So I work with high school and middle school kids. I guess technically I'm a minister, but the kids don't call me Pastor Stoddard, just Nate.
So Nate, the ministry is not what one would normally refer to as a lucrative career.
No, definitely not. Not in it for the money. I could have done a lot of things that made me a lot more money, but really I was passionate about it. I got certified to teach, but didn't love that job and felt like I really wanted to talk to kids about things that really mattered in life. And so that's the career path I've taken. I've been doing that for the past 22 years in the same town. And yeah, it's super rewarding. So in some ways, FI isn't about getting out of my job. I'm not looking to get out, but potentially someday work for less or even work for free. And that would allow us to do more in the area I'm working in.
The ministry has its own retirement plan, doesn't it? Like a 401a or something?
Not through what I have. I mean, we get special tax deductions and things like that. I'm just in a normal 401k, a Roth 401k.
Okay.
All along, we have been investing in retirement with our employers, and he has a match. And so we've met the match. That was kind of our goal, to meet the match the whole way along, where they match what we invest. And that's been like a really great decision.
That's an awesome decision. Joy, what is your job?
So I'm a teacher. I'm actually a teaching assistant right now, but I'm certified to teach biology, high school biology. Once again, this is not a high paying job. Right now, I make around $28,000 a year. So that's pretty low. And then, Nate started out, I was looking back, he started out making $25,000 a year, and he's making a lot more now, maybe closer to like 50 or 60.
Yeah.
Oh, 70. So we are making more now, but when we first started out, it was like, we were making nothing, And so we really had to, just out of necessity, live on very little. So we just kind of made it a game or a challenge to do our best to live on as little as possible. And we've maintained that. And that's why our savings rate and our investing rate now is so awesome, because we kind of haven't increased our spending even when we've begun to make more.
When we got married, we made the commitment that we were just going to live on one income. And so we've always lived off of my income. And then anything that Joy has made, we've used at the beginning, pay off her student debt. And then now everything that Joy makes, we're able to put into investments.
That's really interesting. We haven't increased our spending even though we've made more. This is a problem that a lot of people have. Oh, all of a sudden my salary has increased, therefore I'm going to increase my spending. How have you maintained such a low level of spending?
I mean, we have a ton of things that we do that I think save us money. I think one of the things, I don't know if you want to share about our cars. We buy cars on Craigslist.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is we purchased a house and we haven't chosen to buy a bigger home. Well, a lot of people, as they make more money, they're like, let's get the next size up home. And we're still in our quote unquote starter home. But it's great for us. We don't need an extra square foot. We're happy where we are. Like those two things, housing and automobiles, are some of the biggest expenses in a budget. And so if you can cap those things, I think it makes a huge difference overall. And so for cars, I usually don't buy a car that's younger than 8 years. 8 years is kind of the threshold where cars stop depreciating as much. And so if you can buy a car that's 8 years old and has around 100,000 miles, you can ride that for the next 100,000. For example, we bought a Subaru Outback 10 years ago for $2,500. And that car is still parked in our driveway today, and we're still driving it. It's got 178,000 miles on it now, but it still goes.
And we joke that it's probably worth $2,500 now. We could probably sell it for what we bought it for 10 years ago. I wanted to share one more quick story. This isn't something everybody can do, but like a lot of people spend a lot of money on their hair. And I actually typically grow mine out and either donate it or sell it. And I did actually one time sell it for $400. And so I feel like it's not something everybody can do, but most people are spending money on hair and I'm making money on my hair. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to tell my daughter about this because she has hair down to her waist. It's super thick. I know that we've done the donating part before a couple of times, but I didn't know you could actually sell it. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's an option.
Joy, you said you found the FI movement through BiggerPockets. Is real estate part of your journey?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to be involved in real estate. And I, watched Joanna and Chip Gaines and was like, I should flip houses. I just was like, what can I do to get to that point? And one of the things I did was get my real estate license for a period of time. In New York State, it's kind of expensive to maintain that. And I actually ended up not keeping it, but it taught me a lot in the process. We bought our own house, which was one real estate purchase we made. And we also bought a investment property, which is an Airbnb that we have.
How is that going? Because Airbnb has had some ups and downs recently.
I've really enjoyed it personally. It has been like a really good decision for our family because it's just kind of a fun project. When we bought it, it was like fall of 2020. There was not a lot happening. We were both kind of home from our jobs. And so we're like, let's do something crazy. So we actually purchased it. It's a tiny house. So it was $38,000, which was an amazing deal. And we renovated it for $5,000 on our own. And then we listed it on Airbnb kind of the next summer. And so we've had it up on Airbnb for 4 summers now. It's just a seasonal property, but it's just been super fun. I've really enjoyed the process of it. We make about maybe 10,000 gross on it, which isn't like a ton, but it's more than I ever expected to make.
What did you say you have into it? Like $42,000?
Yeah.
So you've probably broken even now, and now it's just extra.
Yeah, it's bonus.
Okay, so where you live is usually a big part of keeping your expenses low. If you're in downtown San Francisco, you're not going to be able to save as much because you're spending so much more as if you lived in like the middle of Iowa. So would you categorize yourself in a high cost of living area or a low cost of living area?
So we're pretty low cost of living area. We live in Western New York in the Buffalo area. And I would say that housing is very, very affordable here. And even just life is affordable for the most part. Maybe taxes are higher here, but I would say that is probably a big part of it. We're not living in a city, we're in a suburb, and we have a small 1950s, like 1,200 square foot house that was fairly affordable. We bought it for like $132,000. So with a 3% mortgage. So we're not paying it off.
Yeah, well, slowly you're paying it off, but you're not throwing any extra. I love that. And that is, that is a personal decision, but keeping your money not just stuffed into your home equity by throwing it at your mortgage when you have such a low interest rate is something that I am firmly on the side of, as opposed to paying it off no matter what your mortgage rate is. How long have you lived in this house?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. We've lived in the house for 20 years. At the beginning, when I said we first moved here, I moved here for the job. We couldn't afford to live in this house back then with what I was making. So someone actually purchased the home for us, and we were able to live in it basically at cost. They were charging us $550 a month to live here. But then once I started making enough to afford the home, they sold it to us at that $135,000 price tag, which at the time was even a pretty good deal because it had gone up in value since when they bought it. But they were just looking to break even on the house. And that was about 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2015.
Okay, so you have some time left on your mortgage. You didn't buy it 22 years ago.
Yeah.
You've also said that you were already doing all of the right things. What changed when you learned about the FIRE movement?
Yeah, so I would say there's kind of like two things that we stopped and two things we started when we found out about FI. We knew about Dave Ramsey and his steps, and they were really great in that they helped us. We got our debt paid off. I had $50,000 of school loans that I was able to pay off. And then we started investing 15% in retirement. So that was helpful at that time. But what we decided was we didn't want to pay off our house, which I said that earlier, but that would have been kind of the next step. And we were like, okay, no, let's not do that. And then we also had a whole life insurance policy that we really, I dug deep into that and I could get into the weeds with that. But we just decided it wasn't right for us. I know that for some people, they have sold it as like a positive thing. But for our situation, it just did not make sense. So we ended up selling that whole life and policy and using that money we had been putting into there to invest in VTSAX mostly. So I think it was the spring of 2020 when I actually first invested in Vanguard myself. It was the first time I had ever invested on my own and pressed the buttons myself. And yeah, so we started then just 5 years ago investing in mutual funds. And then what was the other? Oh, we bought the Airbnb.
So Scott and I have talked about the middle class trap, where you are contributing to your 401k, you are paying down your home, and the bulk of your wealth is in your retirement accounts that you can't access early without paying penalties, or in your home equity. It sounds like you have investments outside of these accounts. Where do your investments fall, percentage wise?
Yeah, so I would say it's about a third. We've got about 350 in real estate. So that would be a combo of our home and our Airbnb. And then actually we have more like 450, I think, in untaxed or tax advantaged retirement accounts. And then we're at about 370 in our taxable brokerage accounts. So it's almost like 1/3 of each. And that actually feels really good for us because our FI number right now, it's not based on our net worth. It's based on our taxable accounts, stuff that we can pull out very easily and use, for the 4% rule. Our FI number is actually 500,000 in our taxable brokerage accounts because it's really just a bridge to get us from early retirement to regular retirement.
Okay. In your regular retirement, do you have any sort of pension, or is this the 401k that you're talking about?
Yeah, what's interesting about my job is a little bit ago they rolled it all together. So the pension and 401k kind of all got rolled together in that one number that Joy just mentioned. So it's just in one Fidelity account altogether. Joy will, with teaching, she'll have a little bit of a retirement that'll come from that at some point in the future. That'll be more like a pension from New York State.
But the truth is we live on so little that our FI number does not need to be that big. And even our retirement number does not need to be that big. Right now, our expenses are around $38,000 a year, which I think when I had originally read all of Mr. Money Mustache's stuff, I was like, we can live on $30,000. But I'm pretty sure he wrote that stuff 15 years ago. So I'm like, okay, $38,000, that's good.
Do you have kids?
We do. Yeah, we have 2 kids.
2 kids. Okay. And how old are they?
They are 13 and 9.
Okay. So we've got a little bit of planning and a little bit of expenses still. How old are you right now?
I am 40.
Yeah, and I'm 45.
Yeah. And when do you plan on retiring, or do you plan on retiring? I mean, how many hours a week are you working right now?
I mean, we both have full-time jobs, and I don't know, like retiring, so many people have just different opinions about what that is. I think the FIRE concept, I lean more towards the FI idea, financial independence, versus retire early, because I think there's just so many negative connotations around retire early. It's like, especially in my job, it's like, oh, you're just going to go sit on a beach and relax. And no, like that's not my life plan. Like I'm not looking to do all this. I'm looking to do all this so that I can do what I want and not need to get paid for it. And so I love doing what I'm doing now, and I don't plan on quitting that after we hit FI. It's more about being able to hit that number and then not need to take a salary so that you can do other things.
For me, it's about just like working less. We do love our jobs. We enjoy the jobs we have. We feel like they are meaningful, but at the same time, we would love to be able to spend more time with our kids, especially at this age. It's like a golden age. We really love our kids. And so I think if we hit FI, which we should be able to in about 2 years, I would love to just reduce our hours, even both of us, like reduce them to more like 20-hour-a-week jobs. I'm not sure exactly what that would look like, but I think that would be my kind of initial FI step.
Okay, that's really interesting because your kids are 13 and 9. They don't really need you as much anymore. I've got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. Sorry, it gets worse. They're like, never mind. I don't want you in my life. Leave. But you still want to have dinner with them. You still want to spend time with them. They just, you don't need to spend as much time as you do with like a 2-year-old. Having something else to take up your time while you're still location dependent because they're in school. I think that's great. If you enjoy what you're doing, obviously, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then find something that's awesome. But you'll have a lot of time on your hands when you're not working 40 hours a week. You don't have to go to the grocery store on the weekends. You can go on Wednesday morning and you don't have to deal with all of the, everything else. Having something to keep you occupied while also generating a little bit of income is going to allow you to keep your FI number at 500,000, even with your lower cost of living. I think that's great. Do you have any hacks to keep your expenses this low? Because 38,000 is not that much money.
We do credit card hack, I guess you would say. That's actually huge. We don't have a category for vacations in our budget. So if you were to look at our budget, there's no category for vacation. But I have spent probably 10 years listening to podcasts and people who use credit card points in that way. And I have gotten to a point where we probably save around $10,000 a year on vacations that we take. My goal is to do it totally free. So we've almost done that. We took a really big vacation this year that was more like $1,000, but it probably should have cost around $10,000. So yeah, it's stuff like that where, if you can spend a little bit of time and keep your stuff organized, make sure you're paying your credit cards on time, you can really have a good life without having to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, I think there's just like a game factor in it where it's like, how can I eliminate this expense? I think one thing we did, Joe mentioned we live in Buffalo and it's cold here in the winter and our kids need good coats, right? Like, cause we got to be outside in the winter. I'm not going to be inside all winter. And the cost of clothing your kids can be really high. And so we decided we're just going to buy nice things on eBay. So for example, like we bought our kids Patagonia coats on eBay and we just every year we buy them and then we sell them. And a lot of times we sell them for more than we buy them for. Because if you list something well, it will sell for more. So we try to find things that are listed poorly on eBay. That's a really quality name brand. And our kids wear it for the season. And then the next season we sell it for generally more than we bought it for and buy the next size up. And so my kids are wearing the nicest jackets in school, and I'm making money to do that.
I love that. My aunt did that with her youngest. She wanted her to be dressed very well, and she would go to garage sales and thrift stores and, do stuff on eBay. And then when she was done with it, she would frequently sell it for more than she paid for it and like making money on your clothes. And like you said, there are people who don't know what they're doing on eBay. They list something, it doesn't get any traction because the pictures are bad or the description is terrible. And you go in and you're like, oh, this is a $40 item and you're selling it for $5. I'm going to take that. Nate, what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions of financial independence?
I think some people, like with the FIRE movement, it's like it seems very selfish. It's like, oh, you're trying to gain all this money for yourself so that you can retire early. And I don't think that's necessarily the case with us. Like, that's not our goal. Our goal has never been, it hasn't been about us necessarily. Like, we have tried along the way with controlling our expenses and living on less to also be able to be generous. We try to give away between 10 and 20% of what we make. We just feel like giving back is a big thing. And then on top of like financially being generous, just being able to be generous with our time. I've mentioned a couple times that like we want to, once we hit 5, be able to give back, to volunteer, to use our gifts and talents in ways that would be beneficial to others for free. And so I think a lot of people look at the FI movement at a quick glance and they say, this isn't for me. It seems very selfish. It seems very me oriented. But I don't think that needs to be the case. I think you can have goals that are very others focused with FI. Our goal is to hit financial independence so that we can live our lives loving and serving others and not needing to get paid for it.
And Joy, what advice would you give to someone who wants to pursue financial independence?
The most important thing for us has been to just have some really basic financial habits for a long period of time. And so it starts with just like really simple things like keeping track of your expenses, making a budget, meeting and talking about our money on a monthly basis, like having honest conversations around money. So those are all like, things you hear all the time. But I would say that if you want to start pursuing FI, that's like the first step. For us, I feel like that was kind of a big part of what got us so far, was just like following those basic financial habits from a long time back. We started doing that 20 years ago when we first got married, so just starting out with those basic habits can really end with something awesome, which is so cool.
I love it. It is the basics that'll get you here. We have had almost 600 episodes of the BiggerPockets Money Podcast, and everybody I talk to says the same thing. Reduce your expenses or increase your income or both and save intentionally. And there's no secret sauce. There's no easy button. There's no magic elixir. It's just that.
Yeah.
Joy and Nate, thank you so much for your time today. This was a lot of fun, and it's always good to chat with you. Is there any place that our audience can find you online?
Yeah, so my website is joystoddard.com. And then also I wanted to share quickly, I did write a book, and it's called Money Stories. And I would really love people to check it out. It's on Amazon. And I just wrote it honestly to help people with their finances. So my hope is that people will read it and be motivated to make some positive changes in their financial stories.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'm going to go get a copy of that book right now. I looked it up. I'm like, ooh, Amazon. It's right there. Money Stories by Joy Stoddard. All right, Joy and Nate, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you sharing your story and your repeatable story, because that's what it is all about. I love the tip about buying on eBay and buying quality so that when your kids have outgrown it, you can simply sell it and get another one. So thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more inspiring FIRE videos just like Nate and Joy. This is Minnie Jensen signing off.